What's up, Wargamers? We've got a new 40K video for you today, and Forge World's releasing some new beta rules for you to download for free here on Warhammer Community's website. And if you are an Adeptus Mechanicus player, you're going to take special heed to these because you'll finally be able to use the Terrax pattern Termite assault drill, which is the very first transport for the Adeptus Mechanicus, as well as being able to get the Hoplites and the Peltasts. So you're going to have two more troops in there. And let's take a look and see how viable these guys are for their points, because they're, like most of the other Forge World beta stuff, they're probably going to be limited to one per force, so they're going to be quite limited in their access. But what do you guys think? Comment below what you guys think about Forge World trying to bring this 30K stuff over into Warhammer 40,000. Obviously, it's not a big departure. And do you think it's going to be a good thing for Forge World? And what are some other units that aren't out yet that you're personally taking looking forward to? So go ahead and hit the like button for this video, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So if this is your first time joining in, welcome. We're gaining new followers every day here on Budget Wargamer, where we talk about Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40,000, other Games Workshop games, hobby hangouts, tutorials, and from time to time we talk about some other manufacturer stuff. So definitely stick around. Let's go ahead and dive in here. We'll switch screens and go to the Warhammer Community website. And these are new rules from Forge World. So what you're going to be able to do is you can participate here in the beta if you'd like to be able to provide them feedback, or you can just put them on the battlefield and get a feel for them yourself. So these are alternative kits where Forge World relies on part of the existing GW plastic kit for the Skitarii Rangers and Skitarii Vanguard. So it's not a 100% pewter kit. You're going to get different heads, you're going to get different backpacks, and you're going to get different arms with weapons. And I think you might get one other thing when it comes to the Hoplites. But essentially, these are the Adeptus Mechanicus that are designed to be the Titan guards. So not really guards necessarily for your Imperial Knights. We're talking guards for your Reaver Titans, Warlord Titans, and things like that. Because those types of vehicles don't really have anything that's anti-troop, except for stomping on people, right? Because those guys have much bigger things to worry about on the battlefield. They play a bigger battlefield role for taking out heavy armor, other Titans, fortifications, and things like that. So these guys are kitted out completely different, and they have somewhat slightly different stats than your average Skitarii Vanguard and Skitarii Rangers. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a comparison to how these guys stack up against those, and let's take a look at the Termite assault drill. First, I'd like to go into, of the three things, my favorite unit. So let's go into the Skitarii Peltasts, and let's make sure we open this in a different tab. So the Peltasts are the guys that are here in this picture. So if you're looking at these guys here, let's get a close-up. You've got the regular Skitarii Ranger / Vanguard bodies, but you have different heads on here, so slightly different masks, although at first glance they may look like they're standard Skitarii Vanguard heads. Totally different weapons here, and these weapons have the ability to fire in 3 different profiles that we'll take a look here in a minute, making them very versatile. And then there's different backpacks on that not only help power their weapons, but also help give these guys a force field. So they give them quite a bit of staying power when we compare them. So here is the data sheet for the Skitarii Peltasts, and they've got a standard stat line of movement 6, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 1 attack, 6 leadership, 4+ save. Nothing, no revelation there. You've got a minimum of 10 that you have to take in a squad, so that's different than when you're looking at your Skitarii Vanguard, where you can take 5 to 10. These guys are in squads of 10 to 20, which is a little bit different. And I don't do the power rating stuff myself personally. I play for points. And these guys are coming in at 9 points per model, which is actually not that bad considering you're paying 7 points for a Skitarii Vanguard and 8 points for Skitarii Ranger. And we'll look at what special rules make these guys worth it or not worth it. But the points disparity is not as great as in so many of the other beta stuff we've seen, such as the Telemon Dreadnought and stuff like that, that may be way overcosted in its points, to the point of costing as much as Imperial Knights and not quite being able to deliver the staying power. And then you've got the standard war gear here. Their Galvanic Caster, which is the standard weapon, has no points cost associated with it. Either does a Radium Pistol if you swap that out on the Alpha. But you can do a Taser Goad, Power Sword, Phosphor Blast Pistol, and arc pistol and arc maul on the alpha, and then enhanced data tether on one of the models, as well as an omnispecs as optional equipment. And we know the omnispecs is good equipment because it does take away the ability to get cover saves against these guys, or at least reduces the cover saves. But let's take a look at that fancy galvanic caster. So this is that the energized weapon that you see here with these guys carrying. It's very kind of Victorian-esque in Tesla in its weaponry, but it's got 3 different profiles. One of them is going to be your crowd clearing shot, and that's your flechette burster with a 24-inch range. It's got good range, rapid fire 2, so that means at 12 inches you're going to be shooting 4 shots. So definitely an awesome shotgun type model. With the strength of 3, no AP and 1 damage, it makes it very much on par with the shotgun, but with different range and weapon type. Then you have the Ignis Blaze, which this is a very interesting way to fire this. You've got an 18-inch shot, so that's very similar to the radium carbine that you've got on the Skitarii Vanguard. Same range at least, but it's assault D3, so it's a random number of shots instead of being assault 3. And it's only strength 3, no AP, and 1 damage, but here's where it gets different. This weapon can target units that are not visible to the firer. So this means that you could be shooting at people completely out of field of view, meaning you can be out of view, hidden for your own protection, or those little dastardly dudes that are hiding behind a bulk piece of terrain are possibly going to be able to be picked off by your unit, especially if you're firing 20 of these dudes. You got 20 D3, you're laying down quite a bit of shots. Now the kinetic hammer shot, I think, is a very powerful shot for taking out your typical Marine equivalents and Terminator equivalents. It's not going to be quite as powerful against the Terminator equivalents, of course, but against Marines, it's got a heavy 1, 30-inch range, so it's your longest range option. At strength 4, AP -2, it's going to be able to knock back Marines to a 5+ armor save. So it does make Marines armor half as effective as it normally is. Now let's take a look at the war gear options, which are pretty standard, and we went over the points profiles of those. Here's where we've got the special abilities. So these guys are still going to be able to be eligible for Canticles of the Omnissiah, which is great, especially if you're bringing in your Belisarius Call as your warlord to be able to field on the battlefield. Then the Omnispecs has the traditional standard rules, where enemy units do not receive the benefit of their saving throws for being in cover. Enhanced data tether. Now look at this. This is where they differ. They have the Chiropatris field generator. So this is their fancy backpacks, where they're going to be picking up a 5+ invulnerable save. So that does give them some good staying power. It's not the best invulnerable save out there, but considering a 4+ armor save is often modified to a 5+ armor save or worse, that means that they're always going to have at least a 5+ armor save there on the battlefield. Now they are Titan Guard, so it says if your army is battle forged, this unit can be included in an Adeptus Mechanicus detachment without preventing other units in that detachment from gaining their Forge World dogmas. But these guys in and of themselves do not benefit from a dogma. So even though they aren't necessarily battle forged themselves, these are being able to be added without any detriment to the rest of your detachment, because that would just be total BS. But they don't want these guys getting any more powerful by being able to take advantage of dogmas. And then you have Blind Barrage. This is different. So they're going to take their energy weapons and they're essentially going to create a big glowing ball or big glowing field to blind the opponents. And it says that once per battle, instead of shooting in the shooting phase, this unit can fire a Blind Barrage. Until the start of your next shooting phase, your opponent must subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with ranged weapons that target this unit. So if anybody's looking at overcharging their plasma weapons at you, it's really going to be a bad idea. And then it says opponents must subtract 1 from their hit rolls for attacks made with ranged weapons against this unit until the start of your next shooting phase. So yeah, it's not going to allow you to charge into them and be able to basically become immune in a sense to their overwatch. But seeing as how these guys are only 9 points apiece, for 2 points more than a Skitarii 2 points more than a Skitarii Vanguard and 1 point more than a Skitarii Ranger, do you think these guys are undercosted, costed just right, or overcosted on their points? And I think it'd be hard to say that they're overcosted, but I feel like if anything, they should probably be in that 9 to 10 points range, given the flexibility of their weapon, and then also their 5+ invulnerable save seems to be a very powerful ability on their end. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other models that are out there. So let's close up shop and let's take a look and show you guys the Skitarii Hoplites. Now this is a different... Now they're taking me straight to the the store. Hang on just a second. All right, we'll just have to look at them here. So in true hoplite fashion, these guys have their spear, it's an energized spear in this case, and some sort of shield, as well as a similar backpack to what we saw in the Peltasts that's going to power up their weapons and presumably give them that Cryptopatris Cryopatris field. That's a hard word to say. So let's go ahead and check out their profile and take a look at how these guys stack up. So first and foremost, they're coming in at 9 points base per model, but then that doesn't include their war gear, so we need to look at what the war gear costs on these guys. The Arc Lance is 0 points, so it's not adding any points value there. And a Mag Inverter Shield is also 0 points, so that means that these guys are going to come in at 9 points also. Not bad. Same profile that what we would normally see on most of the Skitarii, except what we're seeing here is that they have 2 attacks apiece standard and 3 attacks on the alpha. So that's 1 additional attack, plus we get 1 additional weapon skill, so we're getting a 3+ weapon skill, which makes them a lot better in hand-to-hand combat. So if you were looking at getting close range with people, then you guys would be able to attack, and let's take a look at how strong those attacks are going to be. Again, these guys are also being fielded in units of 10, and it doesn't look like you're going to be able to field these guys in units up to 20, at least according to this data sheet, so that's different than what we saw in the Peltasts. Now that Arc Lance does give you the shooting ability of a range of 12. Thankfully it's an assault weapon, and it's strength 6, which is very strong, AP -1, damage 1, and it says when attacking a vehicle, this weapon has a damage characteristics of D3. So watch out, because at strength 6, this is going to be hitting you almost as strong as a plasma weapon, but with much less significant AP. But considering that they could otherwise have no shooting ability, I definitely would take that. But let's look and see what this does in melee. So you've got a strength of 6, so you're going to be hitting on 3s. You got a strength of 6, which means you're going to be wounding many things on 3s and 2s. And then an AP -1, damage of 1, and it says when attacking a vehicle, you have a damage characteristic of D3. So these guys seem like they're very good at taking out lightly armored creatures, and for 2 attacks apiece, that makes them pretty strong, especially for 9 points per model. So it says they can opt out their weapons. Same weapons options on the alpha, as well as an enhanced data tether and an omnispecs. I'm not sure if an omnispecs would be quite worth it on these guys compared to the Peltasts, because there's a lot less shooting weapons. But it's presumed that if you're going to charge and get in hand-to-hand combat, that maybe you will be attacking people behind cover. So that's to be determined what you guys will personally think about these units. And then we've got Canticles of the Omnissiah, Cryopatris Field Generator, and let's take a look at that Mag Inverter Shield, because otherwise they have the same equipment. So models with a Mag Inverter Shield have a 4+ invulnerable save against attacks made with melee weapons, so it's only going to be in hand-to-hand combat. But in addition, each time you make an unmodified saving throw of 6 for a model with a Mag Inverter Shield against an attack made with a melee weapon, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after he has made all of his attacks. So it's kind of like the Supplicating Plate for the Nurgle Demons, but not quite as strong, because that one was on a 4+. But this one, anytime you make a saving throw of 6 in hand-to-hand combat, there you go, you're an unmodified 6 specifically, you're going to cause a mortal wound back. So it really makes these guys not worth getting into hand-to-hand combat with, is if you're attacking with expensive infantry. And it makes it more worth you getting into hand-to-hand combat with these guys against expensive infantry. So where they might normally feel outclassed, it's okay, you're going to be able to step in, because you're going to have a better invulnerable save in hand-to-hand combat, as well as that dick punch move of the Mag Inverter Shield on save throws of 6s. Now last but not least, I bet most people are probably excited about the Terrax pattern Termite Assault Drill. I'm personally kind of like, whatever, but let's take a look. Points wise, at 130 points, this thing's coming in pretty close to a Leman Russ battle tank. So I'm pretty skeptical on its combat abilities, but it does have a toughness 8. That is insane for a transport. Strength of 7, so it's presumed that it's going to be able to attack, especially with the weapon skill 4, because we've seen so many of these vehicles with weapon skills of 6. and then only 10 wounds. So let's dive in and take a look at the weapons. So it says a Terrax pattern Termite assault drill is equipped with 2 storm bolters, a Melta cutter, and a Termite drill. So the Melta cutter is, there's like, within the drill, when you look at the front of the models, there is a grip load of Melta right around the front. I think there's 5 of them altogether. So that's going to be a pretty strong weapon. So it's got the heavy flamer, or at least an option. You must have an option for a heavy flamer because there's stats here for it. The Melta cutter's a 12-inch range, assault D3, strength 8, AP 4 if you're within half range. So it's basically a D3 assault Melta gun in a sense. Storm bolter standard profile. I'm presuming you can upgrade that to a twin Volkite charger as the model typically has. Much cooler looking weapon. And then the Termite drill itself will give it a strength of 14 with an AP -4, 3 damage. So after the bearer has made all of its attacks, roll a d6 for each model that suffered damage from this weapon in that phase that has not been destroyed. And on a 2+, it suffers a mortal wound and that model's not destroyed, you roll another d6. This time that model suffers a mortal wound on a 3+, and keep rolling a d6, increasing the result required to cause a mortal wound by 1 each time until the model being rolled for is destroyed or the roll is failed. So this is a very interesting transport, because you're actually going to want to charge this thing straight into hand-to-hand combat against some heavy vehicles. Presumably your friend's Imperial Guard or Imperial Knight, for that matter. I think the Imperial Knight stands a chance of being able to whack this thing apart, but this is a tough cookie here. So it does have some abilities there you guys can read through, but this will definitely require some play testing to feel out, because this is unlike any transport, and it's not just because this is a subterranean transport, but because it is so melee geared and has such good weaponry that it's very atypical. Very, very atypical. But how many troops can it hold? I doubt it can hold 20 in here. So let's see if we can find up to 12 models. Not that bad, considering that means you could take a squad of 10 no problem of those hoplites. So stay tuned for Budget Wargamer. We'll cover some more stuff. Just wanted to throw this out there. I'm an Adeptus Mechanicus player on the side. I've got a Skaven version of Adeptus Mechanicus as well as a standard Adeptus Mechanicus, and just looking forward to more stuff coming out for him, because there's definitely a cool army out there.